I've said many times, and this has caught on, and I want these things to catch on. She talks about her prosecutorial record. She's never prosecuted a single case from beginning to end in what we call the first chair. That is, she's overseen an office. Now that's important, but when she says, I know these transnational gangs, I prosecuted them. No, she didn't. I've looked everywhere. I have looked everywhere where you normally look online, where she had jurisdiction. Nothing. Zero. CNN, as you know, is the constipated news network. It's filled with reprobates. When Hamas puts out information, they regurgitate it. When the White House puts out information, they regurgitate it. You get the point. It's not really a news organization. It's like the propaganda organization, like the vast majority of the news outlets today. Now, that aside, they did a piece on Kamala Harris's mixed record as a prosecutor. Now, keep in mind, it's from their perspective. But they raise a few points that I think are worth highlighting. I feel like in many ways, I've been the only one talking about her record as a prosecutor. I've talked about the fact that she wouldn't prosecute pedophiles. I brought one of the now adults on my Fox program. We've talked about it here, who was molested by a priest in San Francisco. It was a great scandal, and she didn't prosecute a single pedophile priest. In 50 other communities, they did. She did not. She received a lot of donations, campaign money, from entities related to the archdiocese there. And of course, it took the Pope to step in and clean all that up. But Kamala Harris didn't do a damn thing. She didn't bend a finger. I've said many times, and this has caught on, and I want these things to catch on. It's caught on Fox and other places. She talks about her prosecutorial record. She's never prosecuted a single case from beginning to end in what we call the first chair. That is, she's overseen an office. Now, that's important. But when she says, I know these transnational gangs, I prosecuted them. No, she didn't. I've looked everywhere. I have looked everywhere where you normally look online, in the different files, certainly in the different courthouses online where she had jurisdiction. Nothing. Zero. So there's that. And there's other things, too. On the one hand, she would prosecute people for marijuana use or the sale of minimal amounts of marijuana. And then on the other hand, when she ran for attorney general, she was very proud of herself. She would say that she did not. So she's a chameleon, but don't ever forget that she's a Marxist Islamist, but she's a chameleon when it comes to talking to the public, when it comes to getting votes. Because she knows that if she were to actually reveal herself to the United States, the people in the United States, she would lose by 20 points because the American people don't hate America, certainly not like she does. So let's take a look at this CNN piece that was done about a week ago. Go.
That's our choice, a prosecutor or a felon.
From political ads to the campaign trail, Vice President Kamala Harris and her supporters say her career makes her uniquely prepared to take on Donald Trump.
I started my career as a prosecutor.
I can't wait to see her prosecute the case against Donald Trump.
Prosecute the case.
Prosecute the case.
She was a prosecutor.
That record as a prosecutor began in the San Francisco area. Two California families say that history and the impact on their lives deserves scrutiny as she runs for president. One of Harris's first major controversies happened just months after she was elected San Francisco district attorney. In 2004, police officer Isaac Espinoza was gunned down by a gang member.
There you go.
Just 29, he was a young father and devoted husband to Renata Espinoza, who had to identify his body in the hospital.
I remember I walked into this room and he still had blood here. He was laying there with his eyes closed and I saw the blood here. And I walked over to him and I was just like, wake up.
Harris publicly announced she would not seek the death penalty against Espinoza's killer, keeping a campaign promise despite furious political pressure.
Life without possibility of parole is a severe consequence.
But a decade later, as California's Attorney General, Harris defended capital punishment. When a judge found the state's death penalty to be unconstitutional, Harris and her team called the decision fundamentally misguided in a court briefing. Officer Espinoza's widow spoke to CNN in 2019, calling it a reversal driven by politics.
Are you going to be for the people? Are you going to be for yourself? Are you really being you?
Should we be talking about some of this flip-flopping?
I think it's fair to talk about flip-flopping. I think that's what makes America great.
Brendan Woods is Alameda County's first Black chief public defender. On the other side of the bay, Harris was San Francisco's first female district attorney. Their history-making careers rose together.
When she ran for district attorney of San Francisco, her policies were that of the city of San Francisco. All of her policies when she was the attorney general were much more restrictive, much more right.
As California's attorney general, Harris promoted enforcement of a law that allowed prosecutors to seek jail time for parents of truant kids.
If you fail to take responsibility for your kids, we are going to make sure that you face the full force and consequences of the law.
I thought that was crazy. I was like, how can you lock parents up?
I opened the door and I see at least 7 or 8 cops, full gear, like wanted to arrest me. As a matter of fact, they did.
That was May 2011. The Haddadines woke to law enforcement at their door. And you're handcuffed this whole time?
Oh yeah, absolutely, like a criminal. I have my pajamas on, like those paper-thin pajamas. And that's what I went to jail in.
Their son, Connor, was in middle school then.
I used to be allergic to a lot of things.
You missed 12 days of school.
Yeah, but not consecutively.
It's not like the kids don't like school, they do. But they couldn't breathe.
Arrested under the new state truancy law, the Haddadines, who had no prior criminal history, were spotlighted in local news outlets. The electronic trail still haunts them to this day.
It impacted every aspect of my life, everything.
Harris acknowledged the problems with that truancy law she once championed when she ran for president in 2019.
In some jurisdictions, DAs have criminalized the parents.
Right.
And I regret that that has happened, and that the thought that anything that I did could have led to that, because that certainly was not the intention, never was the intention.
I don't think you can consider that an unintended consequence because she created the law.
Harris's prosecutorial history is long and complicated for those lives who've been touched by it. And it should all be reviewed and weighed, says Woods.
I think people can evolve, and I think that's what she's done.
Ken, it's interesting, hearing all of that and all those examples. But Harris seizing on her experience as a prosecutor, decade plus, as a credential to handle immigration. Of course, obviously, despite being the vice president in the Biden administration.
I don't need to hear these two. They didn't mention the pedophile cases, the marijuana cases. This is a pretty nasty person. She's cold-blooded, absolutely cold-blooded. I also think she's a psychopath. I think she actually convinces herself that these new positions aren't chameleon-like. I love when they say she's evolved. She hasn't evolved. She's devolved. Evolved into what? Oh, her views have changed. Oh, now she's a conservative. Now she hates conservatives. It's just ridiculous.
For all this and much more, sign up for Levin TV.